5 minutes. That's all it took to change the course of World War II in the Pacific. In June 1942, the Japanese Navy, confident after Pearl Harbor and a string of victories, sailed towards Midway Atoll, planning to lure the remaining US carriers into a decisive, annihilating battle. Admiral Yamamoto commanded a vastly superior force, 4 heavy carriers, battleships, cruisers, destroyers. Admiral Nimitz, commanding the US Pacific Fleet, had only 3 carriers, Enterprise, Hornet, and the hastily repaired Yorktown, and was critically outnumbered in supporting ships. But Nimitz had a secret weapon, codebreaking. US intelligence, Station Haipo in Hawaii, had partially cracked the Japanese naval code, JN-25B. They knew Midway was the target and roughly when the attack would come. It was a crucial edge, but victory was far from certain. The battle began on June 4th. Japanese planes struck Midway Atoll, but the island's defenses held, inflicting losses. The American carriers launched their own aircraft, aiming for the Japanese fleet. What followed was near disaster for the Americans. Torpedo bombers from Hornet, Enterprise, and Yorktown flew in low and slow, without fighter escort. They were slaughtered by Japanese Zero fighters and anti-aircraft fire. Torpedo Squadron 8 from the Hornet was wiped out. Only 1 pilot survived. It seemed the American attack had failed catastrophically. Meanwhile, Admiral Nagumo, commanding the Japanese carriers, faced a critical decision. His planes returning from Midway needed rearming for a second strike on the island. But his scout planes had just spotted the American fleet. Should he rearm with bombs for Midway or torpedoes for the US carriers? He initially chose bombs. Then, receiving the scout report, ordered a frantic switch back to torpedoes. This crucial delay left his carrier decks dangerously cluttered with ordnance and fuel lines. High above, undetected, American dive bombers were approaching. Squadrons from Enterprise, led by Lieutenant Commander Wade McCluskey, had reached the estimated position of the Japanese fleet, but found only empty ocean. Critically low on fuel, McCluskey made a gamble. Spotting a lone Japanese destroyer heading northeast, he deduced it must be returning to the main fleet and changed course to follow. It was a decision that changed history. At approximately 10:20 a.m., McCluskey's dauntless dive bombers arrived over the Japanese fleet. Simultaneously, dive bombers from the Yorktown, led by Lieutenant Commander Maxwell Leslie, also arrived from a different direction. They found the Japanese carriers, Kaga, Akagi, Onsoryu, exactly as Nagumo feared. Decks packed with fueled and armed planes, vulnerable during the rearming chaos. The Zero fighters, drawn down to low altitude to annihilate the American torpedo planes just minutes before, were out of position to intercept. In 5 minutes of concentrated hellish fury, American bombs tore through the Japanese carriers. Kaga was hit multiple times and erupted in flames. Akagi, Nagumo's flagship, took a catastrophic hit that ignited fuel and bombs. Soryu suffered similar devastation. Within minutes, 3 of Japan's finest aircraft carriers were blazing wrecks. Later that day, American planes found and fatally damaged the 4th Japanese carrier, Hiryu, which had launched a counterattack damaging the Yorktown. The Yorktown itself would later be sunk by a Japanese submarine, but the core of Japan's naval air power was shattered. The miracle at Midway wasn't just about codebreaking. It was about McCluskey's intuitive gamble. The sacrifice of the torpedo squadrons, pulling fighters low, and the precise improbable timing of the dive bombers' arrival during that brief window of extreme vulnerability. Had they arrived 5 minutes earlier or later, the outcome could have been drastically different. Japan lost 4 carriers and hundreds of experienced pilots it could never replace. The United States seized the strategic initiative in the Pacific and never relinquished it. A battle decided by minutes, mistakes, and moments of incredible bravery, turning the tide of a world war. History is filled with shocking twists and hidden narratives. Explore more untold stories, from fallen empires to forgotten heroes, right here. Subscribe to Unravel the Past.